Visit us at www.3news.com for all your reliable news. 3 News, news at your fingertips.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to Midday Live. I am Wendy Lai. Top of the bulletin this afternoon. Members of Parliament yet to receive copies of 50-page bribery allegation report, which was laid on Wednesday. Government approves National Service Allowance increment from 350 cedis to 559 cedis effective April 1. So I have details of these stories and many more coming up shortly. Please do stay. This is Midday Live. We start with our stories, and government has approved an upward adjustment in the National Service Allowance effective April 1, 2017. In a statement signed by the Acting Executive Director, Yusuf Mustafa, stated the allowance, which stands at 350 cedis currently, has been increased to 559 cedis for pesos. Management further expressed its gratitude to National Service personnel for their patience and fruitful periodic engagements and discussions it had on their matter. We look at other stories that are trending in a report on a 5-member ad hoc committee set up to investigate the bribery allegation against the chairman and some members of the appointments committee has been deferred to tomorrow, which is Thursday, which is actually today, March 30. And the majority leader, Osechi Mensah Bonsu, in a certain motion will be moved on Thursday, which is today, but is not sure if it will be adopted on that same day.
Almost every member of society is interested in knowing the outcome of the 5-member committee that was set up by the Speaker of Parliament to investigate the bribery allegation that was leveled against the chair and some members of the appointments committee. Well, this morning, the chairman of the committee, Honorable Joe Gatti, has laid the paper, and we were expecting that the motion will be taken for members to debate and the report adopted. But the Speaker has deferred the matter to tomorrow. The majority leader was hopeful members would have ample time to peruse the report to enable them contribute meaningfully to the debate on Thursday.
It's quite a voluminous document, about 50-page document. And given the circumstances surrounding this whole imbroglio, you would expect every member to have a copy. I have not cited one myself.
Can we be assured that tomorrow the motion will be moved?
I can give assurance on that. The motion certainly will be moved tomorrow. As to whether we conclude it, it will depend on all of us in plenary. I want to believe that we'll be able to do it and put it behind us.
He explained the delay in presenting the report was because members, including those involved in the allegation, were occupied with other parliamentary duties.
Other matters also came in, unanticipated matters, when some of the people who were being interviewed suggested to the committee that they should assess some evidence on CCTV cameras in the house. So the committee applied to the leadership, and we granted them additional space to further interrogate matters.
Meanwhile, the House is not likely to rise on Thursday as scheduled.
We have quite a lot before us, so we want to see if maybe we're able to complete everything by next week. The budget estimates we haven't finished. Certainly do the Appropriations Act on Friday. There are those statutory funds that we need to confront. in particular against the background of this new law. We have to let it affect the apportionment to the statutory funds.
So you're still watching Midday Live, and very shortly, Evelyn Tingma, my colleague in Parliament, will bring us some more updates on the bribery allegation case. But let's go back to what exactly happened, how it happened, and where we are now. And we first look at the bribery allegations timelines. Sometime this year, at the beginning of this year, specifically January 27, 2017, bribery allegations were made by the Boko Central MP, Mahama Yariga, and key actors in this very situation. Some were accused as well. We have Boache Jako, Muntaka Mubarak, and Mahama Yariga himself, and Osechi Mensabonsu. Fast forward 31st January 2017, Speaker of Parliament, Professor Mike Okwe, named a 5-member committee to probe and actually look into this very issue, which is the bribery claims. And the committee was chaired by former Attorney General and MP for Esika Ketan, that's Joe Gatti, and other members of this committee were MP for Yilo Krobo Magnus Kofi Amwate, that's MP for Jabing Amapoma, MP for Talensi BT Baba, and MP for Finso South Ben Abdullah Banda to look into this very issue. And what were their terms of reference? There's a terms of reference given to this very committee to establish its first Deputy Speaker, Jose Wusu, who took money from Energy Minister Boache Jako and gave it to the Minority Chief Whip, that's Alhaji Mubarak Muntaka. And while this issue came up, there was some concerns that were raised. Should this committee do their work in camera, or it should be done in the full glare of the public, so people get to know what exactly happened? And their role as well was to do an internal inquiry to find out whether there were attempts to bribe members of the appointments committee, because that was what brought about this very situation and why the inquiry was set, and to look into the remit of complaints and assertions made by First Deputy Speaker about this very matter. You might as well know this is not the very first time such situations have come up. So shortly, I will be trying to reach Evelyn, who is in Parliament, to give us some more updates on this very issue. The committee of inquiry, they're done with their work, but what exactly is entailed in their report is not yet out. And Evelyn, like I mentioned, will join us shortly to give us an update on what has happened pertaining to this very issue. But I will also be speaking to Linda Ofoikwafo. She is the Executive Director of the Ghana Integrity Initiative, to find out her view on this very matter. Members of Parliament are yet to receive the 50-page report of the 5-member ad hoc committee set up to investigate the bribery allegation against the chairman and some members of the appointments committee. Now, the motion was supposed to be moved for the debate to commence yesterday after the committee laid the report, but was called off because the MPs had not seen or had not been served with this very report. Majority Leader Osechi Mensabonsu, explaining the reason for the postponement, said that this was to give the legislature an opportunity to peruse the document to be well equipped today for the debate after the motion has been moved. So shortly, Evelyn Tingma will give us some updates on this very issue. But I will turn shortly to Skype and speak with Linda Ofoikwafo. She is Executive Director of the Ghana Integrity Initiative. Good afternoon, Linda, and thanks for your time.
Good afternoon to your viewers.
And now, the concern is that earlier it was that should this be done in camera, should it be done for the public to know about what exactly happened. Now the report is out, but parliamentarians have not been able to debate on this very issue. Is this in any way going to, or will this likely have an effect on Ghanaians' respect for the legislature, looking at how the whole process has gone?
I believe Ghanaians' expectation of Parliament is very high so far as this matter is concerned, because it's a very tricky one. It's an issue that, however it goes, it has serious implication for the image of Parliament. So as we wait patiently, I have been hoping that this report would have come out a long time ago, but due to some reasons cited by Parliament in the past, they've not been able to do so. Yesterday, we actually kept hoping that we will see the reports finally to know what the outcome was. But that one, we also were not privileged enough to see or hear the contents of the report. Today, we are still waiting, and we are hoping that before business comes to an end for Parliament today, the report would be debated and Ghanaians will know the outcome of the committees.
Now, like you rightly mentioned, we're all waiting to see what the report entails, but to what extent could this bribery allegation affect our democracy? Is there any negative effect at all?
It does. You see, the members of Parliament, our honorable members of Parliament, have the responsibilities to put in place legislations that deals with the canker. And so the fact that laws play a very important role in the fight against corruption in Ghana and everywhere else in the world is not something that anybody would want to undermine. For that matter, the people that work on the laws that deals with the canker, the people that put in place policies that deals with the canker, the people that pass or approve budgets for implementation of anti-corruption work are expected to be people of very high standards of integrity. So this matter actually coming at the back of already some allegations in the past made by very high-profile people in this country. So far as parliamentary business and parliamentarians' work is concerned, was already a very big issue. So the outcome, as I said earlier, is very dicey. However it goes, whether somebody will be cleared, whether somebody will be found not to have told the truth, is a very important issue for us. And if anybody really did pay money, it's also very important. So all the parties in this conversation are very important, people that we hold them in high esteem, and we expect nothing less than being honorable people and people of integrity. So we are waiting to see what the outcome will be. It's also, if you remember, Shraj said we're holding on with the investigations until Parliament's committee has finished with the work. So we want to know what Shraj will also be able to make out of whatever finding comes out today. As I've said, the stakes are quite high. However it goes, it has serious implications for the House and for the honorable members of Parliament. We want to know if people are found to have actually engaged in any wrongful acts, what will be the sanctions or Parliament and punishment for them? And if some people have also been found to have actually told a lie to the entire nation, what will be the outcome? What are the measures put in place to deal with such issues so far as Parliament is concerned? Be it administrative, be it legal, Ghanaians want to know what the total, the end of this matter would be. And that has a very important, serious implication for our democracy.
Thank you very much, Linda Ofoyokafo. She is Executive Director for the Ghana Integrity Initiative. Thanks once again for your time. But still on this very issue, members of Parliament are yet to receive the 50-page report of the 5-member ad hoc committee set up to investigate the bribery allegation against the chairman and some members of the Appointments Committee. The motion was supposed to be moved for the debate to commence yesterday after the committee laid the report, but it was called off because the MPs had not been served with the reports. The majority leader, Osechi Mensah-Bonsu, explaining the reason for the postponement, said this was to give the legislature an opportunity to peruse the document to be well equipped today for the debate after the motion has been moved. Our parliamentary correspondent, Evelyn Tingma, joins us with the very latest on this very issue.
Here is the allegation that was leveled against the chair and some members of the Appointments Committee, and that is the issue that everyone is interested here. And that the majority leader, before the House went on the break, said that when they come back, they will look at that particular motion. The motion will be moved and probably the report adopted. And so that is what everyone is waiting for now. But before, we have been speaking to some members of Parliament because Wendy, if you remember, yesterday the House was informed that because the document is about 50 pages, members will have to be given copies to be able to peruse the report. But this morning we have been speaking to most MPs, and they have said that they have not received the report yet, and so they are yet to also receive the report as at now. And so we are expecting that when they come back from the break, members will be giving copies for us to look at what actually the report is saying regarding the bribery allegation that was made against the chairman and some members of the appointments committee. And so this afternoon we are still here waiting, but before the House went on the break, they were also discussing the budget estimates for the Electoral Commission, and that exactly is happening in Parliament here. So we are all waiting for the report of the bribery allegation committee, and we'll know the outcome, whatever that will be, and then we'll bring you up to speed the development here in Parliament. Wendy, back to you.
Thank you very much, Evelyn Tingma. So like you heard from her, members of Parliament are yet to receive a copy or copies of the 50-page report of the 5-member ad hoc committee set to investigate the bribery allegations. But she also spoke to one of the MPs on this very issue.
We've not received any copy yet. As at yesterday, around 8 o'clock that we were leaving the chamber, we've not received any report yet. So we are hoping to get it on the floor of Parliament today so that we could debate about it.
But were you told that you will not be receiving the report yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday I think the majority leader made some assertion that the document is huge and we were not going to be able to debate it as at yesterday. But as at the time we were leaving, we could not get it. You know, since it's a huge document, each member of Parliament will have to get a copy. The committee will have to make copies for each member. So since we couldn't get it yesterday, there was no explanation to that effect as at the reason why we were not able to get it. But we are hoping today. It happens. It's a normal practice. Yeah, sometimes you may get the document on floor of Parliament and then you have to debate it.
But since it's a 50-page document, would you be able to go through everything on the floor of Parliament today so that you can make your contributions? Yeah,
normally we don't go through everything page by page. We have to just get the relevant portions, the recommendation, and then the outcome of what the committee found out concerning the bribery allegation. Those are the relevant portions that we have to talk about. You know, there will definitely be a preface to the document. There will be some recommendation. There will be some other things that may not be relevant to our debate.
So we're staying on this very story. We'll bring you some more updates as and when we get them, and in our subsequent bulletins as well. You're still watching Media Live. Let's look at other stories. And the presiding bishop of the Methodist Church of Ghana, Most Reverend Titus Awoche, says leadership of churches in the country have no moral right to question politicians of corruption, since they themselves are grappling with money in their churches. Now, according to him, leaders and administrators of churches have no right to accuse government officials of any wrongdoing.
At the National Thanksgiving service to induct into office the National Council of Patrons of Association of Methodist Church Choirs in Accra, the presiding bishop of the Methodist Church Ghana, Most Reverend Titus Awoche, maintained the negative and questionable lifestyles of Christians do not attract people to Christ. This, he said, has resulted in the dwindling numbers of Christian membership in the country.
We have just finished our GPC, General Pastors Council meeting, and we said a few things to our people. Now, lobbying and campaigning for positions, not here there. But when you get the position, you do nothing with it. In the church. So I ask the question, what moral right have we as a church to tell any politician when that person is doing the wrong thing in the society? When we do the worst things in the church.
The presiding bishop also maintained that the activities of paramilitary groups and some members of political parties seizing government offices, property and attacking personalities amount to disrespect to the leadership of government. He admonished the members of the council to use their positions to bring discipline and progress to the church.
In other news, the president of International Civil Aviation Organization, Dr. Olumuyiwa Bernard Aliyu, says President Akufo-Addo has asked him to lead efforts within West Africa to develop the aviation industry. He made the appeal when he called on the president at the Flagstaff House.
Dr. Aliyu paid a courtesy call on President Akufo-Addo at the presidency on the sidelines of the second International Civil Aviation Organization meeting on sustainable development of air transport in Africa being held in Accra. The ICAO president lauded President Akufo-Addo for his leadership skills, support for the aviation sector, and role of Ghana as a member of the ICAO. According to him, time has come for West Africa and indeed Africa to contribute effectively to and take its pride of place in the global transportation system.
Currently, there are 100,000 flights globally daily. It will increase to 200,000. That is 60 million flights annually, and over 6 billion passengers will be traveling by air. Aviation has since, for the past 2 decades, changed to be a transport system for the elite. Is now the mass transit system for this century. Every country that has invested in aviation has benefited through socio-economic development of the people. It is what integrates a country to the world.
President Akufo-Addo touched on efforts being made to enhance infrastructure to boost trade across the continent.
Both the regional and continental scale, one of the biggest obstacles we have to boosting our own intra or internal trade is the absence of a good connection, a good infrastructure that connects our various countries. So, and it's a clear and obvious advantage we would gain if the African airspace was fully connected, liberalized, free, connected, to be able to be an avenue for overcoming that deficit.
The president noted Ghana would make efforts at building infrastructure to match up with countries that have done better in the aviation industry.
Let's go some more stories. And South African Navy ship has docked at the Tema port. South African Navy ship, that's a Motala Vela class frigate, will be in the country with 100 crew members to mark a centenary celebration of SS Mendi troopship, a South African ship which sunk during the First World War.
We are glad to have a South African ship in our waters. It just berthed a while ago, and there were a series of activities that were done here to receive the ship. They are going to be in our Ghanaian waters for 3 days for a number of activities, exchange programs and other ceremonies. But we have with us Colonel Patient Masise. She will just throw more light onto what the crew are here in Ghana to do.
The SAS Amatola crew is here in Ghana to strengthen the military-to-military cooperation, Navy-to-Navy military cooperation. We will have some activities. They will have some games with the Ghana Navy.
The South African High Commissioner to Ghana spoke to the news team.
To celebrate the centenary of the sinking of the SS Mendi on the 21st of February 1917. The SS Mendi was a South African ship that left South Africa to go and support the World War I in the United Kingdom and France. And on its way there, on the 21st of February 1917, it was hit by another ship in the English Channel south of the Isle of Wight, and it sank. It sank with 616 men, African men, that lost their lives, that had gone to go and fight in the World War in the First World War.
The captain of the Navy ship has this to say.
My ship is a Valor-class frigate. We have 4 of them back in South Africa. And the crew I have on board at the moment is 176. We've participated in exercises with the Royal Navy, the German Navy, and we've made a stop in France for refueling as it is at the moment. And we've just come back from Spain.
The SAS Omotola-class frigate ship is a missile-guided warship which has participated in several combating operations around the world with strong ties with other naval countries.
Got more stories, and Deputy Chief Executive of the Ghana Cocoa Board, Dr. Edu Amponsa, has confirmed to TV3 News that he is ready to take a pay cut following the recent public uproar against the huge salaries of top executives of the company. Speaking on the sidelines of a workshop by UTZ Cocoa Program Ghana, he said the move will save the country and Cocoa Board some funds.
I've only been employed only 2 months, and I've not even received anything. You know, it's a sacrifice. I don't think that much is I don't know how much is there. You are willing to take a pay cut? Quite, why not? You know, it's a sacrifice. I mean, it's self-service. It's service to the nation. I don't see why we can't sacrifice. We should be able to sacrifice.
And years of standoff between residents of Agogo in the Ashanti region and nomadic herdsmen has caused bloodshed and loss of property, mostly farmlands. But in recent days, there exists relative calm in the area. The police ascribe the calm atmosphere to Agogo and its environment to preemptive measures instituted to quell the tension. William Vansinkum speaks to the Konongo Divisional Police Commander on this very issue.
Anybody, Bossman, he is the divisional commander for Konongo. Of course, Agogo is also within his jurisdiction, and we are looking at issues that has to do with Fulani and then indigenous tensions.
On September last year, about a group of 4 Fulanis marks shot Opanyini Kojuan Ponsa, 63-year-old, at JJ village. Then they moved to one of the village at Koreso and shot another young man, 25 years old, by name Abi Shaibu. In fact, this actually took the command back, and we personally took a decision that we have to stop these manners of this Fulani issue. So what happened was that I thought it would be better for us, because we cannot use vehicle because the place is not motorable. So I decided to send 5 motorbikes from Konongo Division, Konongo District, which is patrolling this place, to Agogo, so that they will take the farmers to the bush anytime the farmers are going, and to go and patrol the place so that the farmers will have the freedom to do their own work or to farm. So that has been the trend from September up to date. And God willing, when we started this exercise, it has been fruitful and it has been very nice. And now the people of Agogo are able to do their work, go about their the normal duties without any intimidation or fear. And that has been what the strategy we have put in place. And we've sent some policemen also. They are normally about 20. And they are all in the bush every day, ensuring that we push this Fulani at bay.
Okay. Now, Commander, looking at your current strategic measures, are you sure, or can you confidently say that we are not likely to hear of any untoward development from Agogo as far as Fulani issues are concerned?
Well, I can't say for sure that we may not. What I have done is I have set my target for the short-term proactive measure, medium, and the long-term. What we are doing now is for the short-term. We're doing this to put some fear of God to the Fulani so that they will not disturb the people of Agogo, especially those within the farm areas where they are farming. But for a long-term measure, I think we need more. We need to do more. They put some structures in the bush, provide all logistics that the police will need to stay there.
The issue of Fulani has normally been equated to that of Galamsey operations, because they also say that we don't just go and then feed or destroy people's lands. Some of the lands are released to us by the chiefs. Has the chiefs been some kind of a menace to controlling or nibbling this issue in the bud?
Not much that I've seen in this respect. Not much that I've seen in this respect. But it's only the MP and the police and some of the indigenous are also doing their best, but not much from the chiefs.
What hope are you giving to the people living in Agogo who have been in constant fear?
Thank you very much. You know, the main duty of the Ghana Police Service is to maintain peace and order. Our job is to ensure that each and everybody goes around his own, go about their duty without fear or any intimidation, which will ensure that we will do our best to make people live comfortably within any community setup that they live, so that they can go about their normal that I've indicated.
Thanks so much, Superintendent Ohene Bodi Bosman. He is the Divisional Commander for Konongo. My name is William Evans Inkum. For TV3 News, over to you, studios.
Indeed, William Evans Inkum for that updates. We look at other stories, and the Deputy Minister Designate for Justice and Attorney General has suggested a complete ban on illegal mining activities as a way to go in dealing with the menace. This, in his view, will give room for restructuring to ensure that entities go through stiffer procedures to acquire licenses. He made the observation when he appeared before the Appointments Committee of Parliament.
Also, the MP for the Timpane constituency in the Upper East region was the second to be vetted for the deputy ministerial position. A member of the committee, Joseph Yilechere, sought his views on the disturbing issue of illegal mining activities, its impact on the environment, and the way forward.
Looking at the gravity of and the enormity of the issue at stake, some banned, complete banned at least, so that we restructure the system in such a way that when we eventually begin to give licenses again, then we'll ensure that the right things are done. Because we can continue to talk about the fact that it is the livelihood of people, but it is only because we are living that we are mining. If we die, we shall not be mining.
The nominee also answered questions on judgment deaths, constitutional reviews, enhancing freedom of speech and justice delivery. Another nominee for the Deputy Minister for Justice and Attorney General, Godfred Yeboadame, appearing earlier before the committee, threw more light on the need for a special prosecutor and how the country can ensure balance and fairness in that office.
We know that, yes, under the common law and indeed under the statutes of Ghana, the Attorney General was the power of knowledge prosecutor and what have you. That is a very powerful tool that the Attorney General wrote to discontinue criminal proceedings against a person that he or she does not want to prosecute. So that power itself can also be delegated so that the special prosecutor will become cease of all the powers of the conduct of criminal prosecution. So the special prosecutor is appointed by the President under an Act of Parliament, but has full control over the conduct of criminal proceedings in respect of offences that he or she may prosecute. And I think that clearly will make it not amenable to the difficulties and challenges that the honourable member is contemplating.
Also appearing before the committee was the Deputy Minister Designate for Energy, William Kwedu, who answered questions on rural electrification, the Ameri deal, and the Sankofa gas project. Deputy Minister Designate for Roads and Highways, Kwabena Owusu-Adiomi, also appeared before the committee.
Now we hand over the microphone to you on the streets on what you think, and we're still concentrating on our campaign that has to do with Galamsey.
Fighting against illegal mining, also known as Galamsey, remains a Herculean task for the country. Several people, including the Deputy Minister nominee in charge of Justice and Attorney General, is advocating for a total ban on the activity. But what do you also think?
It has even kept long shelf. They should have even done that long time. It's a bad distance. It's destroying our rivers, some of the villages. That is where they drink. That is where our animals have their water to drink. And now, even if you fetch the water, you put it down, it doesn't settle.
Those areas, they don't have work to do. There's no work. So they think that is the best way they can get their daily bread. That's why they are preventing it. But we, some of us, know, as it is, it should be banned.
I think it should be stopped. Yeah, totally. Because both legal and illegal, they are destroying the water body. So it should be stopped totally.
I'm from Dumkwao, Ofen. Some years back, you know, when I go there, the place is so green, but now it's so horrible. And even to the point that some of the farmers will even go to the farm, they wouldn't even know there is a hole, and then they just fall as a victim, and then they fall into the pit, and that is all. So it's really, really taking part of our lives. So it should be banned.
People say it's their source of livelihood. Would we also say that armed robbery is a source of other people's livelihood, so we should allow that? I think we should look at it again, not just from one angle and say ban it. You ban it and then what? The waters have already been destroyed. Currently, we know that there are lots of foreigners involved. How do the foreigners get those concessions? It is us, the Ghanaians, who give it to them. So we should be able to look at all these things. But to say ban it, and that's the end of it, I don't think it would solve the problem.
News reaching TV3 indicates officials of the Presidential Task Force on the Retrieval of State Assets have stormed the Ashoman Estate residence of the former Deputy Local Government Minister Emmanuel Kwejo Ejekum to retrieve a four-wheel drive which they claim is for the state. It will be recalled that officials of the Presidential Task Force on the Retrieval of State Assets on Tuesday ransacked his residence, and we have him via phone to speak to him on this very issue. Thanks for your time, sir. Can you hear me, sir? Good afternoon, and thanks for your time.
Good afternoon.
Now, where information we've gathered is that the Presidential Task Force again have been to your house. Can you confirm that? And did it happen today?
Yes, actually they are still here, but not in my house. We were at the Atomic Police Station, that's Kwabenya Police Station, lodging a complaint because we lodged a complaint 3 days ago, and we have come to present our statement here. Whilst we were in the officer's office, a gentleman, a police officer whose name is called Chief Inspector Adu, from the Flagstaff House, called the police chief or the police commander at Kwabenya Police Station that they have just had an information that a Land Cruiser is parked in front of his office, and that Land Cruiser belongs to the state, and therefore they are coming to collect it. And the officer said, fine, they should come because the same Land Cruiser we are talking about it. So they drove in about 20 minutes time, and he said, as soon as he walked in, he said that he need a Land Cruiser and my Ford as well, my Ford pickup, the Ford F-150 that I'm driving. So the officer said to him that he has already spoken to the committee, those who are on it already, and they have said to him that he shouldn't let anybody pick the car because they have not been authorized to come and do any operation. Then the chief inspector said to the officer that no, he has been sent by somebody called Mahmoud from the Flagstaff House. And he said, what is the full name of Mahmoud? He said, only Mahmoud. Then the chief inspector said, I'm superior than you. And it seems like you want to teach me what I should do here. But if you want to teach me, then go and take an entry. And once you finish with the entry, you can do whatever you want to do because you are more than me here. Then he left and went outside and wrote the entry. They have taken the chassis numbers of the car and everything. We have the genuine documents with us. He said he will not take the genuine documents with us from DVLA, from customs and all those things until he takes the car to the old castle where his authorities are and where he has been asked to bring the car. And this officer called Chief Inspector said, so we said we will not move the car, we will not move an inch. And he said if we don't move an inch, he has the authority to tow the car away because he's been sent by Flagstaff House. And he actually, this time around, he showed us an identity. And we said, How can we know that this time yours is genuine? He said, oh, the first one, he knows the first one, Ahenkra, but he is an informant. He actually gives them information, but they are not genuine. Plus, the first police officers who came, they are not genuine, but he is rather genuine. Can't I see that he's wearing a badge? And I said, the other officers, look at their pictures. They are police officers in a uniform. And he said, oh, they are not genuine. He is genuine. So
And
this
sir,
is the situation. If I can cut you here,
has the said Mahmoud been spoken to by the police officers at Kwabinya? Have they been able to reach him on this very issue?
They spoke to somebody on phone, but the point is that officer doesn't know who they are speaking to. Anybody can say it's Mahmoud. The last time they came, they picked whatever they want to take from my car, and the same trick they did the last time. This time around, he came, he said he needed my Ford. Now he's retrieving that he doesn't need a Ford again. He only needs the Land Cruiser.
So what next on this very issue?
Come again?
What next?
The next thing is we are deciding to pick up a lawyer and go with a lawyer to him to wherever he wants to take us. After all, we are all Ghanaians. He cannot do anything to us. And that is what we are doing now. We are going to go with him. We are citizens of this country. We don't fear him because he doesn't actually give a toss at the police officer commander here. He doesn't respect him, even though he's senior officer.
All right. Well, so we will be following this story. We'll get back to you. And I have been speaking this afternoon to Emmanuel Kojo Ejekum. He was the former deputy local government minister, and it has to do with the presidential task force and then vehicles that have to be retrieved. But we'll bring you some more of this in our subsequent bulletins. Next, we have business.
Reliable.
President Mahama, who addressed a number of chiefs and people of
credible and breaking news. Fating. Reliable.
President Mahama, who addressed a number of chiefs and people of
credible and breaking news. Visit us. It is brought to you by
It's Midday Live and it's time for business. My name is Nanikia Mensah Abrampa. Starting with this afternoon, the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Abdul Nashiru Isahaku, has resigned from his post yesterday, 3 years to the end of his tenure. The governor attributed personal reasons for his resignation, but TV3 has gathered the government's policy direction is not in line with the ideals of the governor. We will be exploring into this particular one shortly. Right, and joining us live online to give us more detail to this particular one, we have Nana Otuechampon, who is a banking consultant. Nana, good afternoon, and thanks for your time on Midday Live.
Good afternoon.
Now, first of all, let's look at the legacy of Dr. Issahaku as he is leaving office, taking effect from April 1.
Well, he's been in position for a very short time. However, he's leaving with quite a few achievements. For the first time in the history of banking in Ghana, we have an act which protects depositors, as the Deposit Protection Act. Now, this ensures that people who save with banking institutions, if something goes wrong, are protected up to a certain maximum. He's also leaving, having just passed the Banks and Other Specialized Deposit-Taking Institutions Act, which consolidates all the banking institutions within the system. Then, on a very, very positive note, last Monday, he had a reduction of 2% on the interest rate that the MPC uses as a policy rate. That was also good. Inflation is coming down whilst he's leaving. So put them all together. He's been in position just over a year or so. He's done what he could, and Ghana will be grateful to him.
Right. Now, let's look at the implications of his resignation. For example, the development happening now, how would it affect the monetary policy, given that Dr. Issahaku recently announced a 200 percentage point reduction in the policy rate to 23.5%?
Yeah. Well, the MPC is made up of a group that analyzes the economic data available to the country, and then they come up with their rate. So what they announced is what him as the head of the MPC, after the analysis, came out with a reduction. Now, it's in tune with the policy of the current government. And so going forward, whoever takes over should be able to continue where he left off without any difficulty at all.
Now, Nana, one major campaign promise of the NPP has been to create jobs using the private sector. How could a new governor help in achieving high employment, for instance?
Yeah, you have to differentiate between the political ideologies and the central government. What the central government does is they are the head of the economic policies of the government. The government sets a broad outline, and then the central bank, through policies, try to achieve those guidelines. So whoever comes in power, it doesn't matter whether it's Issahaku or a new governor, as long as that person is in tune with the ideology of the government in power, they should be able to ride comfortably. So I think he will not be taking anything away for that matter. It will be left for whoever comes in power.
Right. Now, finally,
and
talking about who is likely to come in power, there's been some speculations of Dr. Ernest Addison, who is a former head of research of BOG, speculations of he coming on board. And let's just throw our minds back to prior to the election period in 2016. Complaints from private sector also had been lack of access to cheaper credit. Briefly, tell our viewers how lending rates can be lowered without necessarily depriving commercial banks of profit on sale of money.
Okay. One of the problems that caused the banks not to be able to lend to the private sector was the big burden of non-performing loans that they had from government, the energy-related loans that were contracted to help us come out of the energy crisis. Fortunately, the structure has been put in place, and that debt is being repaid. So it's been taken from non-performing to performing. So anytime they pay a chunk, it gives capital to the banks to be able to lend to the private sector. Now, another issue that the banks were unable to lend to the private sector was the fact that because of the energy crisis, quite a number of businesses collapsed, and they collapsed naturally with the loans still sitting in the books. Now, with the sufficiency of energy now, some of them are back on their feet. And so, again, if loans become cheaper, then they'll be able to borrow and continue in business, which will be good for the economy. Then they'll be able to engage more people in terms of employment.
Okay, thank you so much, Nanoto Echampo, banking consultants, for your time this afternoon looking at the resignation of the BOG Governor, Dr. Isahako. Later in our subsequent bulletins, we'll be telling you more and speculative names that are up for the position again after April 1. My name is Nanekia Mensah Abrampa. We have sports after this. It's Midday Live.
At www.3news.com for all your reliable news. 3 News, news at your fingertips. Captivating, reliable,
President Mahama, who addressed a Deborah of chiefs and people of
credible, and breaking news. Captivating, reliable,
President Mahama, who addressed a Deborah of chiefs and people of
credible, and breaking news. Captivating, reliable,
President Mahama, who addressed a Deborah of chiefs.
Good afternoon. Welcome back to Midday Live here on TV3. My name is Anako Jafre with the sports updates. The Ghana Football Association will begin interviewing candidates for the vacant Black Stars coaching job between Friday and Saturday. Black Stars coach Kwesi Appiah and former French international Willy Sagnol are on a 3-man shortlist alongside Cameroon boss Hugo Bruce. Bruce is unlikely to attend the interview, but sources within the GFA say the interviews will go ahead with the two. The GFA says it will have a coach in place by the end of next month and say they are looking for a coach who will fit the following criteria. Ghana's coaching criteria: good. 1 is good interpersonal skills, good knowledge of the African game is number 2 on their list, and number 3 is proven track record, and number 4 is good communication skills. In the local front, Ahmed Touré's stock is rising in Ghana football again after a strong start to the current Ghana League season. TV3 Sports caught up with him at his newfound home in Bechim. Touré's love story with Ghana football dates back to 2007-2008 when the Ivorian joined Kumasi Asante Kotoko from African Sport. He scored 14 goals in 25 appearances, became a league champion before heading off to try his luck elsewhere. But he was back in Ghana in 2012 to score more goals and win another league title. Amid reports about his health and personal life, Touré is back in Ghana with Bechim United and doing what he has always done so well: score goals. He has 5 goals in 8 games, but is adamant the Goal King crown is not his top priority.
I mentioned the number of goals I will score before the league will end because nobody knows tomorrow. And now I'm not thinking about the goalkeeper also too. I'm thinking about teamwork. I want to work with united with all my colleagues because I'm not playing alone in the field. It's 11 players plus bench. Even some young players are very good. So everybody's work as family. So right now I'm not thinking about goalkeeping. I'm not thinking about the name of the goals I score, but I'm thinking about the teamwork first.
Transfer moves to Lokeren, where he played 32 games and scored 17. CS Sfaxien and El Gouma in Tunisia has not sparked Touré's career to the height he wished. He admits he is not comfortable, but hopes Bechem United could be his springboard to relaunch his once bright future.
I can't say I'm comfortable. I try to manage myself like that. I already say it. I know I'm nothing to prove in Ghana League again. So, you know, if God says it's not the right time to move, whatever you do, you can start the same place. But if God says it's the right time, nobody can stop you, to be honest with you. Even you can go to one of the biggest teams in the world. Sometimes you can ask yourself, if it's you are here today. Maybe from Bechem, I can go to England or Spain or Germany or Italy, one of the biggest teams. I know a lot of young boys, this is their dream, but the only thing I can tell them, they should always prove in Africa before move to outside.
That's all the sports here on Midday Live. My name is Agogo Jaffe. Thanks very much for watching. Midday Live returns shortly. Stay with us here on TV3.
Now the New Star Times modern
People of
credible and breaking news. Visit us at www.3news.com for all your reliable news. 3 News, news at your fingertips.
So you've had sports and business. It's now time for entertainment, and let's turn our attention to some tidbits around the world.
Looks like Nigerian superstar Nyanya has not gotten over his ex Yvonne Nelson 5 years after their breakup. The Kukere hitmaker has revealed in his latest interview that even though he has moved on, fond memories of the screen goddess remain in his thoughts. The two became the talk of town in the entertainment world when their relationship hit the rocks. But Nyanya has since made it a point to talk about Yvonne whenever the opportunity presented itself. Could there be a reunion anytime soon? Well, time will tell. American R&B icon John Legend surprised some commuters at London's St. Pancras station in commemorating International Piano Day. The 38-year-old singer on Wednesday gave travelers a good time when he pulled up to give a piano performance at the station. Legend sang some of his biggest hits, including Ordinary People, All of Me, and Surefire. He also used the opportunity to promote his new album.
How you doing, London? You all right? We've got a new tour. It's called the Darkness and Light Tour. My new album's called Darkness and Light. This is our new single. It's called Surefire.
So on that John Lennon note, we end entertainment. We have international news now.
Ethiopia has extended by 4 months a nationwide state of emergency to curb an unprecedented wave of anti-government protest. The state of emergency was imposed last October. According to the local broadcasting station, Defense Minister Siraj Fegasa justified the extension, saying there are still some people who occasionally strive to disrupt peace and security. Ethiopia's parliament unanimously approved the extension and urged the security forces to avoid committing human rights violations. Opposition and human rights groups have condemned the state of emergency, saying it is being used to crush legitimate dissent in the country. Ethiopia's security forces have been accused of killing thousands of peaceful protesters, but the security forces have denied the accusation.
Well, that'll be all for this afternoon. Thank you so much for watching Midday Live. Do have a lovely afternoon. My name is Wendy Lai. Good afternoon.